Ladies and gentlemen, we have quite the situation for ourselves today, and that is some huge drama that is going on in the Chinese Wuthering Waves community. And you can probably imagine, given that this is CN drama, it's probably going to be taken to the next level. We're finding this post thanks to Wuwa Unfiltered, the subreddit on regarding Wuthering Waves, where you can actually talk about stuff related to the game rather than just doom post it all the time like the official Wuthering Waves Reddit. So yeah, appreciate the moderation team over here for actually allowing discussion of the game. With that in mind, this is a pretty big issue. Let's start breaking it down because it involves a party. It involves some could even call it a political group. Some could call it an e-terrorist group, and that is XJJ. And if you're familiar with them, we'll give some context on them in just a bit. Well, you can probably imagine what's about to go down. So let's get right on into it. Let's start off with the TLDR and then get into some of the finer details. The Chinese Wuwa community is calling for Kuro Games to remove the voice actress for female Rover due to her affiliations with the XJJ group and her involvement in orchestrating cyberbullying and doxing of Wuthering Waves players. If you know who XJJ is, then this idea of cyberbullying and doxing isn't too surprising, because XJJ is basically a government-recognized group over in China that is known for brigading, doxing, doing a bunch of illegal things because people don't like Genshin Impact, or they're players of games, they're supporters of games that happen to compete with Genshin Impact. If you want some context for XJJ's history with Wuthering Waves, you all remember this situation over here, right? Where there was some censorship that ended up occurring across Wuthering Waves because at some point it was rated 16 plus. And we all know what the issues are with the game being 16 plus. You have limited advertising, nudity warnings, all of that stuff. Not very good for a game, especially as Wuthering Waves was heading into its anniversary. This happened during version 2.2. And so it just turns out that XJJ were the individuals responsible for actually going ahead and mass reporting the game with fraudulent reports across version 2.2, with them being given directions on how to actually mass report the game as well. You can see over here. That's our personal exposure to these individuals over here in the past regarding just the game itself. And apparently it's gotten worse. It's gotten to the point, ladies and gentlemen, where they've infiltrated into the voice acting team internally. They've infiltrated into the competitors' games themselves. So let's go ahead, let's keep on reading and get some more context over here. Basically, the voice actress for the female protagonist colluded with XJJ to spread rumors and defame Wuthering Waves players, resulting in Wuwa players being doxed and cyberbullied by Hoyoverse and the XJJ. According to the screenshots provided by a doxed victim, the victim urged female Rover's VA to issue an apology for her actions, but she refused, stating she has over 500,000 fans, most of whom are also fans of Hoyoverse. Imagine, guys, you dox somebody, you got them harassed, you got real offline, to quote individuals in China. You got real offline. And when you ask them to simply apologize to you for creating this awful situation, they say no. Not because they don't want to apologize. They probably do, maybe, if they're a human being. But because they have too many Hoyoverse fans and they're afraid of their fan base turning on them. Wow, who could have thought? Eventually, though, female Rover's VA did release a public apology, but it did not specify the reason for the apology, the who she was apologizing to, or any of the context. Nor did she mention doxing or XJJ. Obviously, right. A vague one is always the best. Maybe she learned how to give apologies from Genazad. Maybe she learned how to give apologies from the 7 out of 10 guy. Because, yeah, all it sounds like she said is, I'm sorry if I did something. I'm sorry if I did something to offend you. Yeah, she might have just given that exact one. Yeah, maybe she's been watching the translated videos as well. Now let's get some more context over here. For those unfamiliar with XJJ, they're essentially the most extreme Hoyo supporters, the die-hard Hoyo shills who will go to any lengths for Hoyo. mostly by doxing and harassing anyone who they view as an enemy of Hoyo. Basically the stuff that I said before, right at the start of the video. So you can see over here, there's a very clear public perception of this organization. But of course, right? But of course, a big part of how this organization works is the fact that they have like people that operate behind the scenes, right? They have this thing, it's this really weird shit that they have going on. They have like their Isu faction and then like their non-Isu faction. Isu guys are like the ones that like will actively go out and dox people, while the non-Isu ones are led by prominent figures. And who do you probably imagine? Where do you probably imagine the female Rover VA falls into? Prominent public figure, kind of maintains like a good image, but of course, right, is coordinating some nasty shit in the back end. She probably falls under this bucket. And so this is the call to action, right? This is the cry from the CN community right now. And this is just an example of some of like the DMs and the messages that were, you know, translated from Chinese to create this post. I'm pretty sure I'm going ahead and I'm taking the translation that's listed out here as a bit of a given. You can clearly see this is the female Rover VA over here. And of course, right, if people want to like double check and verify, absolutely feel free to. I am not shy at all in, you know, having this contested. So the take over here in the ask, right, is that female Rover's VA gets fired, right? They're basically on the record going ahead and intentionally sabotaging the community of a product, of a game that they are currently getting paid by. If true, naturally, I would hope that there are some investigations done by Kuro's team, some investigations done by potentially like the Chinese authorities, because XJA is recognized as a criminal organization, and apparently most of the leaders have been arrested because of the efforts of Hypergriff and the Arknights community. I guess Arknights is actually really big in China if they can go up against if they can go up against you know, like Hoyoverse at this point. The idea, right, is that if all the investigations clear, whatever, they figure out what's going on, I would hope, if true, this individual gets fired. Because right now, I feel like this is kind of like a sense of actual betrayal. Wuthering Waves is a massive game. It's seen a massive amount of success. And this individual over here voices the main character of that game. That is a pretty, I would say, that's a position with a relatively fair amount of clout. You think about the life cycle of a game, you think about the playable units, right? A lot of them don't end up getting that much speaking time, right? They don't, you know, they might come in a couple of times a year, maybe only once a year, depending on how long it's been since their character's released. This is the main character, right? Who is going ahead and getting employment or, you know, getting called back in almost every single patch. Probably every single patch. They're one of the people that's like the most committed to the project in terms of like the amount of work that they're getting, and perhaps most importantly of all, the fact that they're up in front and center, recording their voice lines, reading the script, doing all that. They probably know some of the most about the game and where it's heading. And Jesus, it's gotta be kind of annoying. It's gotta be kind of ridiculous to have somebody in that position doing so many things to sabotage your game. This whole idea of like doxing, all of that, naturally it's completely unacceptable, right? But I feel like doxing, harassment, all of that stuff, it's big in CN for a reason. And CN is unfortunately known for that, for a reason, because it just happens so often and so many people end up getting bullied. And you want to know what the most ironic part about this is? This is the VA for female Rover, Guinang. She's also the VA for Kokomi in Genshin Impact. And you want to know what has happened in the past regarding Kokomi's VA in Genshin Impact? This individual actually got harassed by Genshin Impact's community, not because of their voice acting work on the Kokomi character. They got harassed because the character wasn't perceived as strong meta-wise. And as a voice actress, they got harassed because of that. And now at this point, they've essentially, I think they might have Stockholm syndrome. They might have just gotten doxxed, harassed, whatever, so much that now they're just a supporter of XJJ. They're just a supporter of the exact people that tried to ruin their career. And then apparently in her resume, she puts her WUWA entry as female player instead of female Rover to piss people off. Yeah, she apparently puts it in as female main character instead of female Rover. Based off of this link that I just got sent from one of my chatters, apparently she has a Billy channel where all she kind of does is rage bait people that don't play Genshin Impact. So that is what she's doing. She's rage baiting people. She's rage baiting players of a game that she's employed by. She got harassed by Hoyoverse and Genshin fans and then is proceeding to buddy up with them afterwards to go dox other people after she got harassed initially, and when caught and asked to apologize for doxing and trying to ruin somebody's life, they say, I got more than 500,000 fans, and they're all fans of Hoyoverse, so I'm not gonna give you a proper apology. I guess she really is the philosophy of, if you can't beat them, join them. And this apology over here, this vague-ass apology that doesn't actually meaningfully address anything, it only got sent out after a bunch of Chinese Wuthering Waves fans have banded together to ask for her to be fired. And this is the thing. I think at this point, given the track record, given the confirmation from Chinese-speaking individuals in my chat, I'm pretty sure you guys can go ahead and verify the Billy page yourself. I trust Maychor quite a lot when it comes to these things. I'm just going to take his word for it. You go ahead, you double-check and verify this if you have any concerns, but this looks really stinky. This looks really bad. This looks like somebody that got lost in the sauce, that due to their affiliation with Hoyoverse, due to their fan base, they probably feel like they're fucking invincible. Because I don't understand any other context where you're gonna go ahead and, as a public figure like this, start doxing players of a game that you're employed by. And you're only gonna back away, step off, and then provide a vague-ass apology after the players of that game that you're employed by saw one of their fellow players getting doxed and then asked for you to be fired because it's traceable to you because you did it. Brother, this is ridiculous. And this is what I mean by betrayal. First, a betrayal by this individual to their own morals by literally siding with the game, the community that tried to ruin their career, and now they're farming off of them and just making rage bait content. It's a betrayal to the WUWA community because literally the voice of your game, is trying to sabotage it and then says disparaging remarks like they can't even like call themselves the Rover. They call themselves the main character. And then obviously, right, the natural betrayal of doxing somebody who is essentially, in a way, your fan because they love the game that you voice act in. Jesus Christ. What a situation. China is up in arms about this. I think it's time for global. I think it's time for whoever has their eyes on this video. I think it's time for their flame to be lit up a little bit. And once again, right, we're only probably seeing this because of the WUWA Unfiltered subreddit. Because like I've mentioned before, Wuthering Waves one is entirely compromised, right? You're not going to see any actual real issues regarding the game. All you're going to see is some fake bullshit willy-nilly. Oh, I just want more characters to be in the story. I want it to be like Genshin Impact. These Honkai Star Wars are the best stories ever. That's all you're going to see on this subreddit. And so, once again, if you're looking for actual, real news regarding the game, if you're not looking for just regurgitated Hoyoverse trash and a garbage agenda from moderators who couldn't fucking moderate their way out of a fucking daycare, they probably get overwhelmed because they're so incapable. You gotta go here. That'll be that for this one, ladies and gentlemen. You can see over here, I think we provided all the context. And once again, I don't fucking know Chinese. I don't. And so if it turns out that like my translator in chat is lying to me, if it turns out this massively upvoted post with a bunch of comments is lying to me, then let me know. But I don't think that's the case because it seems like everything is tracking over here. And this is just an absurdly stinky situation. Let me know what you all thought. Peace.